Hey, I'm not sure if it's a lockdown or a lockup, shelter in place, or is it house arrest? Either way, today I'm going to talk to you about making stock profits with valuable insights right under your nose. Hi, I'm Rashid Hill, and I'm the published author as well as the founder of L3 Coaching Solutions. I'm also the creator and the host of The Triple Effect, an online broadcast on Anchor.fm. I'm a Forex trader and cryptocurrency enthusiast. I'm also the speaker that educates our global community on the future of work in response to and get you in position to win in the fourth industrial revolution. So, what do you want to do? You want to have this conversation today? You know, since this coronavirus COVID-19 kicked in, there's been a lot of talk about stimulus package. So people are not able to go to work. Remote work has become a key force multiplier in keeping people employed, as well as keeping people gainfully employed, productive, in order to make sure their salaries are paid. So this has been a serious time for us. And during this time, I fortunately had the opportunity to telework, but I was actually on leave because we are actually have a newborn. And so I had the opportunity to be on leave, but our organization did go ahead and put everybody on telephone. So that's pretty cool. So remote work is kind of across the board the thing that we all see. Now, that being the case, time becomes a factor. Now, today I'm not going to get into a lot of conversation about what the effects of COVID-19 has been, this pandemic that has basically shifted how we think and how we act and how we interact. Everything that is happening today has been precursor, so to speak. What I like to say is we've planned, now we have to replay. There are so many events, so many things that we have done to set our future in motion that by March 15th or 16th or so, we had to shift that and change. We had to find a way to deal with what is happening right now. It's real, and our lives have shifted for that one reason. Now, you may be thinking, now that I have this time where I'm at home, working remotely, working from home, then what do I do with that extra time that I have available to me now that I don't have to worry about somebody looking at my shoulder? Well, here's something that I believe. If you haven't followed history, then you're missing out on a big, amazing, enormous opportunity. Because as I did my research over the last couple of years or so, since about 2016, I've been looking into stocks and Forex and cryptocurrency, the Bitcoin era and all these type of things. And I wanted to understand what was so incredible about currency. What was so powerful that the markets for currency and the trading compared to stocks and trading were massively good. And so, funny thing, today I'm not going to talk to you about Forex. I'm not going to talk to you about cryptocurrency. Today I want to talk to you about stocks in the stock market and how you can take advantage of a down market and earn, as long as you have the patience and you have some level of understanding of what you're looking for, just to get into the right stocks, to get the right company that you want to take a look at. to feel that you have set yourself up for some level of success and good return on your investment over the next 2 to 3 years. I think that government is going to supply you with something this year to help you get past some of the anxiety. So we're not going to talk about short term, even though there are short term investments that I believe that might be something that you want to look into. I know what I'm doing. I know what I've done, and I know that I want to impart that information to you. Now, who am I? I am not a financial advisor to the masses. I am not a financial advisor that has been school taught. I'm not a person that is qualified according to certifications from collegiate or scholastic regulatory bodies to be a financial advisor, because I don't have a document that says I'm certified to do that. What I do have is results. And therefore, I would love to have this conversation with you concerning what my results are in my studies and my research based upon what I see as an opportunity to position myself in this fourth industrial revolution that has prompted everybody to either blow it off as if automation, as if 5G, as if blockchain technology, as if AI, AR, VR, as if Internet of Things was not going to show up. It's here, and it's going to take over. And you are seeing remnants of that today. Now, there are two things going on. One, there are people that believe this whole COVID-19 crown or coronavirus situation, pandemic, global effects, is a cover for the rollout of 5G globally. If you watch the news, you probably have heard about some good and bad things about 5G. Now, 5G is one of the emerging technologies, as you know, and I'll talk a little bit more about 5G. This is not to sell 5G. This is not to make it about 5G. But what I want to do is give you some insight to why I chose certain stock to look at, research, and possibly invest in for the next 3 to 4 or 5 years. Because there are opportunities in technology. And if you don't kind of believe or feel comfortable with, I guess, putting your efforts into understanding and researching and looking into companies that support emerging technologies like blockchain technology, like hashgraph, like 5G, like AI, these type of technologies, then you probably are on the wrong revenue, or you've been asleep and you need to be woke up. So there are two different dynamics going on, right? One school of thought is 5G emits so much radiation that if there's a tower within 100 miles of your house, then you, your kids, your unborn children, and your grandkids are going to either get cancer or either have a multitude of conditions that will negatively affect your body all the way down to the DNA. Now, the World Health Organization has numerous reports on what 5G studies talk about, and there are some that are valid health concerns out there. There are experts in the field of microwaves, millimeter waves, as well as radiation, and as well as antennas, and the levels of spectrum that is used that the FCC kind of corrals for distribution so that there's some equitability across the telecommunication companies. So yes, there is some truth to health concerns. I'm an avid reader and knowledge seeker of the effects that energy, like actual physical energy, has on our bodies, and how it communicates with the universe. If you haven't checked out my online broadcast called The Triple Effect, it is based on the law of energy, the law of balance, the law of polarity. So when you're looking at the law of balance and polarity, then you undoubtedly have to understand frequencies of energy and vibrations. And in order to really capture the essence of energy, as we are literally energy in this particular space. But that being said, the emerging technologies, that's something that I'm committed to understanding. I believe the next step, the next in evolution, you may be looking at stocks that are in the realm of health, because you know there's always new experimental drugs and things like that coming out. So you may look at Abbott Laboratories, or you may look at Merck Industries, or you know, there's a multitude of companies that you may believe are legit. But then on the flip side, you've got these technology companies. You know, AI is here. I mean, how do you think most of our electronics work? By machine learning. And you have AI coupled with machine learning. And now you have a level of automation and robotics that has taken over pretty much all of our electronics. And this is how we get those better TVs, those better internet services, those better connections. How do you complain about download speeds with your 4G LTE advanced, and you feel like it's not fast enough. You're sitting there tapping your finger because it's buffering. The rest of 5G can solve that problem. But are you willing to weigh safety versus the risk? It's not simple, but it is as simple as that. You have to be willing to do one or the other. We understand the level of radiation, the level of effect on a child's mind, a child's DNA, a child's understanding of the world and development by using a cell phone and putting it up to their head. If they put it up to their head, they are going to get some of the EMFs that come out of that phone signal, right? Because everything has a signal that reaches into electronics. So yes, technology is one of the major portions of companies in the NASDAQ, in the New York Stock Exchange, in Tokyo, London, Japan, wherever you want to go with it. The major stock markets and the major stocks that make up those S&P 500 and those NASDAQ and all those stocks, most of them are technology stocks. Why? Because technology is how the future becomes relevant. It's how the future comes to you, because you want the future to come to you, but you don't want the health concerns to be mitigated by actual companies that take precautions to make sure that some of those things that you're worried about come to life, right? So there are mitigating ways to help bring the level of risk down, just like drinking water. If you drink water out of your tap, it's fine. The FDA has said this water is okay to drink, but most people won't drink it. Very rare. When I was growing up, we drank water out of the tap, but in today's world, you don't. But if you're in Flint, Michigan, you definitely wouldn't want to drink water out of the tap. But here's what's interesting about that. It's not about safety. We all talk about safety. It's actually about risk tolerance. How much risk are you willing to tolerate in your drinking water? Why do you drink bottled water versus water out the tap? If you're drinking Dasani, or if you're drinking, and I'm not, I'm not downing Dasani, I'm not downing Aquafina or nothing like that. But I'm just comparing apples to apples. The fact is, the tap water and the level of byproducts in there, as well as bottled water that's not spring water, purified drinking water, they're pretty much the same. They're the same. But we would prefer to drink a bottled water versus water out of the tap. Why? Because the level of negative or or things that might affect us is so low that we believe it's okay, right? But when it comes to technology, when it comes to 5G, there's this big uproar about radiation, how it's going to really do mind control, how the government is using it against the citizens. And wow, I mean, it's just massively off the charts of what people are saying. And I'm not going to say they don't have valid points in some areas, but you ask for internet service, high-speed internet service in your rural area, but when the towers go up, then another group comes and complains. So what's your risk tolerance? You have to decide. So when you're looking into the stock market, what's your risk tolerance? You have to decide. So today I want to get into something that is pretty much what we want to talk about. Now, if you are excited about doing something with your time while you have the opportunity, other than reading the news or looking at the news or listening to the news all day and getting shell-shocked and getting fearful about this COVID-19 that's going to come knocking on your door, come into your house and take over your family, then here's what you need to do in the meantime. Take a look at what's available in the stock market. Look at the history, 1929, all the way up to 2008, 2009, 2010, and now, and I literally went through a course not too long ago about trading. It was Trading Academy, Options Trading Academy, and they literally said it is about time for another recession in the stock market. It's about time for that market to dive into this crazy barrel that if you have anything that's managed by somebody other than you in the stock market, IRAs, retirement accounts, mutual funds, money market, whatever you have in there, you need to take control of it because something is about to happen. Because every 40 years, something happens. And so here we are, and it's happening. And so I decided that I'm going to do a little bit more research, figure out which companies I believe are the ones that are going to weather the storm and then have a track record and have something in the future that I believe will work for us, right? So what do you want to do? Do you want to hear about some of my stock picks that I believe are going to move us forward? Or do you want to sit there and be afraid that something's going to happen to you because you don't have a mask, because you don't have sanitizer for bacteria when there's a viral? So anyway, we're not going to talk about that. But here's what I want to do. I want to get into some of the good things that we are here for. That being said, let's kick it off with moving on up, making stock profits with valuable insights right under your nose. So what I want to do right now, right? I want to take you and share my screen so you can see what I'm looking at. And then we are going to get into some of the stock picks that I have come up with. As I said, I am not your or anybody's, like I said, I am not the guy that, oh man, I'm not a financial advisor, so don't put that on me. I'm just a regular guy that's here trying to make things happen in my little world. If you can see my screen, you will see that we're going to talk about making stock profits. And why do I say these valuable insights right on your nose? Because you don't have to be some school-taught options trader, school-taught stock trader, Forex trader, or anything like that in order to understand that there's a way to ask a few questions, do a little research, and come up with some of the things that you find near and dear to your heart or near and dear to your mind, or just basically dear to your everyday living. Think about it. These are actual companies that have offered ownership in their company in order to grow, in order to do better, in order to make more profits or whatever. So you have to figure out what's important to you when investing in a company, right? So like I said, I am not a financial advisor. Disclaimer, I'm doing this because I have did my research. I have looked into some of these things. And over the last 4 years, I have had some level of success in certain areas of these markets. And now I'm just imparting some of the things that at this point in time I believe are critical, because if you miss this particular moment in time, it may take 40 more years before you, as a person that's interested in investing, before you actually get the opportunity to jump in there and pick some gains at the level that in the next 2 to 3 years is going to happen. Now, millionaires and billionaires are made during a down market, and you have to understand that. This is just history. This is something that you can go research it, and you'll find out there are a number of people that when the market was down, they took advantage of it, and you'll see why in just a few seconds. So let's get into this. Of course, there's a quote. There's always a quote. The intelligent investor is a realist who sells to optimists and buys from pessimists. Yes, that's what an intelligent investor is. But everybody has the brain power to make money in stocks, but not everyone has a stomach. So you know this is what it's really about. It's like watching grass grow when you're looking for the long run, when you're not, in the stock market. You're not investing to basically earn your income. You're investing to earn your retirement, or you're looking for legacy wealth that you can pass on and on and on. So there are different levels, and these are questions you have to ask yourself when you're actually looking into putting your money somewhere that will work for you, not you working for it. So I always say, ask yourself a few questions. These are not all inclusive. This is definitely not an exhaustive list, but this is just to give you an idea of what you want to ask while you are doing your due diligence. What do I use daily or frequently? That's what you should ask yourself. What type of products, what type of services? You also want to say, what do I see getting purchased or used frequently? Yes, if you're not the one using it, but you see a commercial and wow, okay, maybe people are using that product. Maybe they invested a lot in that particular product because these commercials have come out so often, and so on and so forth. What restaurants are the most popular and have been around a long time? Maybe you think fast food, since even though it's probably not real healthy for you, certain places have some healthy choices, but at the same time, there are so many that keep growing and growing and growing. I'm not sure, but if you have been out, well, before the lockdown, and you drive by In-N-Out Burger versus a McDonald's, or versus a Whataburger, or even versus a Burger King. Yes, there's a lot of people that shop at or buy burgers at McDonald's. There's a lot of them that buy them at Whataburger. There's a lot that buy at Burger King. But how many times have you seen lines out the door, lined up in the drive-thru at anything other than In-N-Out Burger? I'm not saying there aren't sometimes, but every single day, everyone in San Diego that I've been to, they have people lined up every single day. I don't know what they're putting in burgers, but whatever it is, it's making In-N-Out investors a lot of money. So that's just an example. I know people that's invested in McDonald's. I think it's a good choice, but I'm just not a McDonald's fan. So it's not something that I'm looking into, not something that I want to do. But that may be something that you want to look into, because it is very popular. It's worldwide. They have a great marketing concept, and it's worked for them for years. I recommend you look at the movie The Founder just to see how that all started. But anyway, I digress. What thing makes a lot of money, or do I think makes a lot of money? So you may know of things, products, services that you think make a lot of money. So you may be right. It may not be something you use, just like cannabis or marijuana or hemp or CBD or THC, whatever part of that marijuana plant is. You know that people are buying it. You know people are selling it. You know people are making a killing, making a lot of money with it. And now the government is making a lot of money because they wanted to get it into the hands of the people that can tax it. It happened. It worked. And for a period of time, that was the hottest thing out there. Guess what? I didn't touch it. Don't have any interest in it. I'm moving on, right? But what do I think makes a lot of money? That I think makes a lot of money. Why? Because it's proven that it had made people a lot of money. So there are industries, there are products, there are services that you may not believe in, you may not even want to touch, but they do make people a lot of money. So there's opportunities in those as well. But you have to be careful of what you actually invest in, and that's the research that you have to look into. Who is using a product or service that is in high demand? There may be things that are being sold, but they may not be in high demand. They may not be, that supply and demand concept may not work in all areas. And there's a situation where there is a high demand, and there's a situation where something has to be supplied or resupplied in order to continue flowing towards something that's in high demand. So there's a chain reaction, and you sometimes have to go back to the source. And just because In-N-Out Burger is making money, it may not be In-N-Out Burger that's on the stock exchange. There may be a parent company that you have to look into. So definitely you have to do your research in order to understand where you want to put your money. If you're asking yourself those questions, then what are some additional things that you want to be thinking about? So what is happening globally in current events? So right now, if somebody asks you the question, what's happening globally, the first thing you think about is what? It's a pandemic. I'm locked in my house because president, because the governor, because the mayor, because somebody somewhere decided that there's a pandemic and it's coming your way. That's happening globally. So what's happening around that? Think about it from an investor perspective. What do I do to get in a position to win in this particular time frame? Or do I sit back and just play safe and not mess with anything and let the opportunities go by? Because they're going to come and go either way. So you might as well be a part of the solution and not a part of the victim. What commodity is in the news the most lately? So the first thing you probably will say, the commodity that's in the news the most is healthcare workers, everything. The masks, the shield, the outfits, like the jumpsuits that they're wearing. Obviously, the footies that go over their shoes. The masks are probably the most that you hear about. You hear about sanitizers. You hear about water. You hear about people stocking up on water as well as rice or non-perishable foods. What commodities? Gloves are a big thing as well. I could tell you stories and stories and stories about different situations I've personally been involved with because I do sourcing for logistics companies. And one of the things that I was doing about a month ago, me and my wife, we actually had an opportunity to source masks for the U.S. and shipping them overseas. And a good friend of mine, the same thing. We're talking about 1 million masks that they were looking for. And so opportunities show up, right? You have to be prepared for the execution of that opportunity in order to succeed. And so this is kind of what sparked some of the reasons why I'm sitting here today having this conversation with you. So in addition to some of those commodities, what company is in the news the most lately? So you see these commodities and you're like, well, who's selling these things? What about Forex? What about cleaners? You know, people are eating that up as well. So now you're like, if that much product is being sold, what if I would have invested 2 months ago? 3 months ago. What if I've been one of those 250 so CEOs that stepped down right before the coronavirus kicked off? Did they step down and so they can invest into companies that they couldn't invest in because they were actually CEOs on the board of directors? Conflict of interest. But hey, if I step down from a $2-3 million annually position, I can make 2 or 3 million in the next 4 months if I do this. You have to question some of these decisions and the time, because we just saw that people in the Congress, there were people that actually invested in certain stocks. Some people say it was coincidence. Some people say it was smart investing. Most of us say that it was insider trading. They knew what was going on. They knew what was going to be in demand, and they sold their stock in some of these things, and they bought stock in other things. So they made a killing on the sell, and they made a killing on the long. The long was short, and they still made big. So anyway, what company is in the news the most? So somebody's selling those products. That's what you need to figure out, who's selling the product. But you need to figure out where they are in the actual pattern of their particular company run. And we'll talk about a little bit about that in a minute. So what do I want to invest in, stocks or Forex? Like I said, this is not about Forex today, but I am heavily involved in Forex. But today I'm talking about stocks because this is very interesting to me, and the timing is so amazing. How long until I can retire? Are you thinking about that question? How long until I can retire? If you're not retired now, if you're not on a pension, if you don't have a standard amount that you're making, right, every single month, and there's no ability to increase that, right? You're on a fixed income is what I'm really trying to say. So if you're on a fixed income, that's okay. Sometimes it's better to be on fixed income because you know exactly how much you have, you know exactly how much you can spend, you know what your expenses are, and you know how much you can invest if that's what you want to do. So, but if you're not there, right, and you have a paycheck coming in, or you have disability, or you have additional income that you can invest because you want to invest for the next 5-10 years, you want to go aggressive at one point, or you want to go for the long run, then you have the ability to do that. But you have to determine how long until I can retire, and then you know how long you want to invest. But then you will understand what type of investor you will be. Do you want to be a retail investor, or do you want to be a wholesale investor? So what are you looking for in investing in stocks? How long until you retire? So you'll know how long you have. Because the longer you have, depending on the risk tolerance that you will have. You know, you can go with bonds, you can go with mutual funds, you can go with stocks, go with money market. You have to figure out what it is that you're looking for, how long until you want to retire or can retire. So that's just a precursor to where do I invest now. Stocks tumble just because the fear of this virus spread. We all know about it. We all saw it happen. It was ridiculous. That downward trajectory of Dow Jones, S&P, New York, Tokyo, China, South Korea, London, everywhere there was a stock market, it got slammed, right? So while this is happening, what are you thinking about? Your safety? Absolutely. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. Take care of what is important to you. But in the meantime, take care of your investments. Because I know people that in 2008, 2009, in their TSP lost $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in that particular drop. I'm looking at the same thing today. And so I was inspired when I looked at my TSP with the government. And I'm like, okay, I'm doing really well because I shifted some things last year and it took off. I was like, yes, I finally made the right decision. It's looking good. By the end of the year, it was at a place that I was thrilled. And so I said, hey, okay, do I need to shift anything else? I said, maybe I'll double up, put more money in because we get a good return on what we have in our TSP. Well, guess what happened 2 months later? The market started to shake. Coronavirus hit. The market started to go down. So those same people that lost 30, 40,000 about 12 or 13 years ago, I'm feeling the pain of what they felt. And so I said, well, I'm going to have to do something about that. So I decided to take upon myself an opportunity to go and do it myself. The government is investing for me. Now I'm going to invest for myself, but I'm going to do it on my terms in the way that I believe is the best route. Once again, I am not your financial advisor. I am just an educated citizen on what my experiences have been in stocks, Forex, cryptocurrency, money market, and the future of work, the future of currency. This is what I do for me, and I'm just imparting information to you. So where do you want or should invest? Should it be in the US dollar? Well, if you want to lose more money on a devalued currency, you go for it. If you want to invest in currency, I would suggest digital currency. That's it. My top looks, I didn't say picks because I'm not the financial advisor. I'm not some school educated, stock guy. Took a few classes, studied in a variety of forums through companies that I've invested in. And so my limited understanding of it is based upon what I looked at, what I studied, what I researched, and here's kind of my idea of, here's my portfolio, right? My portfolio within the next month will look exactly like what you see here as far as companies invested in. Now, what platforms? Well, you can use whatever platform you're comfortable with. The simplest platform that I've heard about as well as I use a few of the apps, but I like using the desktop. But the apps that I use, I've used Robinhood for a certain month. I use E-Trade for the bigger purchases or the bigger investments. I used Webull. I just downloaded that one not too long ago. Webull is an app that's similar to Robinhood, same type of platform, just different things to it. Both of them are pretty easy to use. Webull is Webull. Webull. And like I said, we have Robinhood. That is a great platform, very easy to use, very popular. But they did recently have some problems. So you got to be careful with these apps because as soon as this downward spiral or this bear run kicked in, a lot of people that never invested jumped on Robinhood because it's a simple app. Somebody probably recommended it. They give you free stock when you recommend somebody. And so people jumped on it. And guess what? The app crashed. And a lot of people felt some kind of way about that. But it didn't stop people from using the platform. So I still think it's a good platform. I think it's legit. And I've seen, what it can do. So I do recommend either Webull. If you want to know more about those things, just get in touch with me and I'll send you the link. You have Robinhood and E-Trade. E-Trade is straightforward. And when I get into the charts, the charts are from my E-Trade account, and I just downloaded some information to show you kind of what I'm looking at, and just give you some examples on some of the analysts and how they're talking about projections and things like that. So they're not all inclusive, but they are just a little bit of information that I use in my arsenal of understanding where to put my money. So you may be asking, why do I have Nokia or American Tower Corporation, Verizon, Qualcomm? Those are key in the future of technology. The fourth industrial revolution has prompted a response, which I'm developing a whole course and a whole series of articles about the fifth digital reaction, which is in response to and how to prepare and how to position yourself in the fourth industrial revolution. But one of the things, and this is kind of the kickoff, literally, talking about the stocks to look at and how to get involved instead of sitting on the sideline while you have all this time. So one of the key aspects of this revolution is fifth generation telecommunication, right? Or wireless communication. Basically, wireless, basically, we know wired, basically broadband or LAN, but we're looking at how do I connect with something that I can't see, but I can get the results of. And that's what we want. The speed is important. The ability to have autonomous vehicles. I mean, Tesla has continually tried to perfect that driverless vehicle. And there's been some issues with the software, but for the most part, they're doing okay. No accident is okay. But I'm just saying, as far as technology-wise, I think they've come a long way. And they're not all the way there yet, but there's a couple of companies that's doing something similar. If you want to get into specific companies in that area, I'm happy to reveal some of that to you. But right now, I'm just giving you an overview, a highlight of why technology and why 5G. We all want faster. We all want no buffer. We all want higher performance and more capacity. We want to hook them like today. I'm gonna tell you, this is the capacity is what's crazy. I'm sitting here preparing to go online and have this conversation with you, and funny things happen. I find my clicker for the slides, and I need to put the USB in. Well, I have no more USB ports, so I need more capacity. So do you visualize that we're not even like being offered some of these technologies, yet at the scale that it could be? Now, 5G has been out for about 2 years, but there's what they call spectrum space, and you have to have a license for these different millimeter waves or low frequency and middle frequency, and everybody doesn't have that. Your AT&T has certain ones, Sprint has certain ones, T-Mobile has certain ones, Verizon has certain ones, and they all have certain coverages as well. But FCC regulates how that goes out, who gets it. And so then you can actually borrow some or lease some spectrum or bandwidth from another company that has it already. So those things happen. So I'm sitting here trying to plug in my USB, and I don't have any USB ports left. I've used all of them up before I could even use this particular device. So I need more capacity. So can you understand why, at a very simple level, I believe technology is definitely going to grow, because I'm not alone. I'm sure there's other people that have a similar problem at a whole different level. And I'm just talking about plugging in a device, not to have, 10 people speaking at one time on a web portal, which is taking up all the bandwidth. A lot of times you can have one-on-one conversations. You can have multiple people on the broadcast, but they will only allow one person at a time to talk. Well, guess what? When you have 5G wireless connection, then you can have everybody talking at the same time, like you're in a physical meeting. So the bandwidth is there, the speed is there, the density is there. So what is 5G? What are the advantages? Spectrum using, what's so important about 5G? Well, we see that 1G basic, 2G basic, 3G we thought was phenomenal. And then 4G kicked in, and we didn't even think there was anything that could be better than 4G until more usage, higher usage, more network congestion, all these things kicked in because people started to use more video, more online chatting, more mobile apps. There's so many things happening here, right? But we want those autonomous vehicles. We want those driverless vehicles. Well, some people, not everybody. We want to have the ability for our drones to operate on their own. We want to have our packages delivered without a human even touching it. We want to be able to have factories that have wall-to-wall robots. Now, I'm not saying I do, but I'm saying we as a nation or even globally want to be more efficient. I don't know if you on Netflix, I watched a show called, I think it was sponsored or narrated or developed or produced by the Obamas, Barack and Michelle. And it talked about how in 2008 when the Ohio plant, I think it was the Chrysler plant, went belly up in 2008. And of course, that's a big town with big industry for auto and auto workers, and they went belly up. And so, what do? These are lives. These are livelihoods, and people are suffering. And so, a Chinese billionaire decided, hey, you know what? I want to invest. I'm going to get into that market in the U.S. And so he invested $5 or $6 million, whatever. And he actually was able to come over. He brought over a whole host of Chinese to work in there alongside the Americans. But the Americans were making literally like 50% of what they were making before. Can you imagine that? Working there for 10, 15 years, making $30 an hour, and now you're making 15 doing the same job. And they would not let them unionize. So I say that to say this. There were issues with the workers. There were issues with production. It was a glass company, auto glass company, that they converted basically most of the auto parts and things like that on machines, but they just basically focused on glass, and then they started making other parts as well. Well, one of the things that they found out, they were too slow in certain areas. And then when they tried to speed up, they wouldn't let the glass cool down at the speed it was supposed to. And so when inspectors come around, they were trying to ramp up production and they would bust the glass. I mean, there was a lot of things happening. And so they basically blamed the American that was working alongside the Chinese. And after a while, the supervisors, which were obviously Chinese, they decided that we need to have automation come in. We need robot arms doing this job because the Americans aren't as efficient. And within a few years, they kept giving opportunity, and then they started basically firing and releasing and letting go of most of the Americans that worked there. And to this day, there's more automation in that factory than anywhere else. So this is the reality. You know, people want it faster. People want more faster. They want it with less accidents. They want it with, less downtime. And if you don't have a human factor there, then you probably will get more production. Do I say that's a good thing across the board? Not saying that's a good thing across the board. But I'm just saying technology is here. They make those managers, those owners, they're going to make those decisions with or without me. So I'm just here to look at what opportunities are available, what's coming, and what's going to be in line to provide a better future in the big picture going forward. 5G is one of those. Speaking of the companies that I showed you a few slides back, I talked about Slack Technologies, which is it's an enterprise communication tool. So it's similar to Zoom or Microsoft Teams. So if you looked at Microsoft Teams, Slack is very similar to that. One of the main things that they talk about as far as some of the people that analyze these companies they talk about the main thing that Slack has over the other similar platforms is their fun design, the privacy. The privacy is based upon the fact that if you use their platform, that information does not become public. That information does not become their proprietary. It's your information, and you have to give permission for it to be shared. So it's not automatically recorded and put into their file. It's something that you can download, and they don't have access to it. So I think that's a plus. Other ones don't do that. And functionality. There are some channels and things that they use and the way they formatted their particular technology, and that is definitely a plus, and it's a choice for a lot of people. Now, they definitely don't have the membership like Zoom. Zoom definitely has raised the game, but here's why I chose Slack. Slack has a free and they have paid models. Their highest model, their highest membership is less than $15 a month, which is incredible. The Zoom, and their numbers are growing. They've grown about 7 times in the last couple of months, like month over month. Zoom has a way bigger number. Microsoft has way bigger numbers because of name recognition, but they don't have the same activity as Slack. The other difference is Slack has more paid memberships than the others compared to the time frame and the numbers that are coming in. So to me, that makes sense because they have a greater platform and people are actually paying. So if you're an investor in Zoom, you may have good returns because they have name recognition and people are going to sign up and they're going to have, 4 to 11% every year. With free memberships, how many of you actually sign up for Zoom and use the paid membership? Most of us don't do that because the free one is free and it works fine. And I'm using it right now. But Slack, you can use it, but you actually can use for less than $15 a month. You can have a multitude of functionality, of functions, of tasks, of options that you don't get with the other platforms at that particular price point. And if you're going to invest in the company and their membership grows, you would prefer that membership grows as a paid membership versus a non-paid membership. Because if it's a free membership, you're going to get less return. You get something for less return because there's other ways they make money. But at the same time, you're not going to get the higher value that you would if you were investing and it's a paid membership. So that's the beauty of Slack. Their ticker symbol is WORK, W-O-R-K. The next one is Glee, Sciences. I like this one. This is one of the health and medical type research companies that I mentioned. There are categories I look at as well. My dad, my father, who passed last year, he was very intelligent in what he invested in, and he had groups and categories that he invested in. And one was the health and research sciences. And so when I looked into this one, I got a lead on this, and I did some research, and I said, you know what, this is the right one to go after. They are a research-based biopharmaceutical company, and they do a lot of tests and research and studies. The government works, the U.S. government is working with them on some key products or medicines or prescriptions or vaccines right now to help with the COVID-19 situation. They do have something called remdesivir that is a test medicine or vaccine that they said would work with SARS and MERS, which, as you know, are other coronaviruses that are precursors to some of the things that we've seen in the past, as well as the COVID-19. So to me, that makes sense. So you're looking 1 to 2 years down the road. As long as they get some results, guess what? That stock is going to rise. The next one is Lattice Semiconductor. Lattice Semiconductor is similar to Intel with the microchips. So you have a low power, low latency, intelligent chip manufacturer. They deliver hardware for areas like AI, AR, machine learning, and even 5G applications. What this is about is for things like autonomous vehicles or Internet of Things. When you need sensors that can help move a smart city without a lot of human intervention, you need a lot of sensors. So one thing that 5G opens up with the high density and high performance is you can have numerous IoT devices connected, but in order to get those 100 or 1 million per square mile or square meter, I think it is. I have to find out exactly what. I think it's per square meter. It's a relatively small area for over 1 million connections or sensors that are used for IoT devices. In order for IoT, Internet of Things, to work with AI and machine learning and 5G, with all those things working together, you have to have ways to connect to each other. In Internet of Things, the easiest way that has been explained to me are sensors that are literally connected to these devices or buildings or cameras or whatever it is in that area in order to monitor and coordinate each event, each circumstance, each instance in order to build on that smart city, smart base, smart port concept. And that includes autonomous vehicles, autonomous airplanes, autonomous, you got the drones, you got all those things that's built into that. And so when we're talking 5G, what are the benefits? We're talking low latency, right? Like with computer and gaming, people that are gamers understand what this low latency means. If I want to download information, if I want to download a movie, when we hear about downloading movies in 3 to 4 seconds or 3 to 4 minutes or whatever that is, 3 to 4 seconds, 6 seconds, maybe 10 seconds for a 2-hour movie, you're talking about, what is it, 4 to 10 gig, and you can download that in a matter of 6 to 10 seconds. That's the low latency of 5G. That's high power, right? Low latency basically means there's no buffer. There's no lag in the time that it takes for the signal to go from the antenna, to the particular server, and from the server to your particular device. Increased speed, faster access across the enterprise. So Internet of Things, faster access between the car and the light, the camera and the building, and the person walking across the street, and so on and so forth. Everything happens faster under 5G. Higher density, high performance, even with numerous IoT devices. So when you have 100,000 devices in a square meter, right? Because you have all square meter, maybe 100. I think it's like it's a square. It's about I think it's 1,000 per square meter, and 100,000 in this almost square mile. Anyway, those are some of the things that are not really relevant to the investing portion, but I hate to give you the wrong information, so I'll make sure I upload that information afterwards to make sure that you understand that this is the power of a portion of the benefits of 5G. The more capacity, right? So no network congestion. We understand the buffering, we understand that everything is trying to get to a download or upload. That's what you get this technology, you won't have an issue. And it uses less energy. I know that's kind of counterintuitive, but with 5G you use less energy because there's lower power consumption, extended battery life, and more efficient to access these different devices. Your mobile phone, your laptop, your computers, vehicles, and all these different systems that use the 5G processors. So, in a nutshell, 5G has the ability to make things faster, less buffering, more high performing, and they use less energy. And so if I did a whole talk just on 5G and the benefits of it and how it works, that would be separate, but that's not what we're here for today. But I wanted to give you some background on why 5G is important, why I believe investing in this light of semiconductor is an important piece of that, because the chip that they're providing is going to help facilitate and move forward the 5G era in this fourth industrial revolution that we're engaged in. These are some of the applications that I incorporate into the solution, which is the fifth digital reaction. Cisco is a proven leading IT company. Cisco has been around for a very long time. They're located around Silicon Valley, so they know the business. They weathered the storm. They will be here through thick and thin, and if they go down, they will come back. So right now, Cisco has what they call WebEx. I've used WebEx, so I love the platform. And they have a free version, and they have a very robust paid membership for their web online work from home platform. You can look up more information at the link there. But yes, Cisco is a powerful platform for work at home, WebEx, quick deployment type system so people can get in there, get to work, and start collaborating with other users. So this is one that I really feel good about. Made a really good investment in that, and it's also a nice return, but I know it's fluctuating right now, and that's okay because, like I said at the beginning, it's not about having the mind, it's having the stomach to go through the process of stocks and buying and selling. So right now, as you can tell, there are links that are associated with each of these. And so if you're interested in looking into those, you can obviously go to the links and get a little bit more information about what's important about them. Nokia. I think you probably remember Nokia as a mobile phone. At one time, Nokia was like the McDonald's of the telecommunications world. They had a phone for everything. They had the simplest phone, or they had a nice complex phone. Then they started coming out with some new developments, and they started being kind of leaders in the smartphone. I mean, they were really doing their thing. So between Nokia and Ericsson, hey, it was a great competition that gave us better products year after year after year. I know because I bought one year after year after year. I spent $1,000 on a Sony Ericsson that I have around here somewhere. Yeah, I did, and that was back in 2008. I thought that was the bomb, and within a year, there were new products out that were better than that. So anyway, Cisco is definitely a leader. Nokia is not just a mobile company anymore. So why would I pick Nokia as one of my leading companies here? One, because the price is around $2 to $3 a share. And I've had conversations with Nokia salespeople as well as 5G people, as well as some of their leadership at a conference and understand where their relationships are with the U.S. and with multiple Fortune 500 plus companies around the world. They are in position to take over the 5G infrastructure globally. So with Huawei being the leader in China, but having the problems that the U.S. basically has considered a problem, U.S. government, then there has to be somebody to step in and replace what Huawei has already put in place. And Nokia and Ericsson are the two that are poised and committed to doing it. They're actually doing some tests right here in California as well. So these are things that I understand, these are things that I know, and therefore this is a company that I am looking for big things to happen. That's why I outlined what the CEO has said in one of his speeches of where their focus is going forward. So some of their drivers for Nokia are right here: the 5G leadership, Indian portfolio, product leadership, successful diversification, sustainable patent licensing, structural cost savings. How would you like to be invested in a company that their patent license is a product that is put into every phone that runs 5G in the next 4 years? How would you like to have a piece of that? Just saying, it's real. And you can go to YouTube and hear all about that. American Tower Corp. If you're going to be in position to win, then you need to find out what pieces of the puzzle you need to have. American Tower Corp is one of the leading global infrastructure tower manufacturers and tower leasing companies for telecommunications. Did you get that part? I'm just saying, if you're going to invest in technology, wireless communication, because everybody has a phone, one of those questions I asked at the beginning, everybody's using a smartphone. I used to buy phones every single year. It's crazy, literally crazy. And I bought one for my wife 2 or 3 times as well. So people, we got 5 phones in the house and 3 people using it. Yeah, so we all have more phones than we have bodies. Literally, you know this as the case. So what are you investing in? Are you paying them or are they paying you? You have to figure that piece out. But I know that in order for those phones to work, there has to be towers somewhere for those phones to work, for you to get a signal. And everybody wants the signal. If you're in rural Texas or rural Montana or rural, Kansas, wherever you are, you can be in Smallville if you want to be. You need a tower, right? So that you can get connections. And the government and the FCCC has basically committed themselves to making sure connectivity throughout the U.S. Guess what? Somebody has to lease a tower from somebody. American Tower Corp has purchased towers from companies in Alaska. They're not even doing business in Alaska right now. But guess what? When 5G gets to Alaska, the towers will already be there, and American Tower Corp are the owners of it. You make the decision. So who are we talking about? So here are some of the analytics that I looked at. And I'll go back to the slide that I had earlier when I showed you some of the companies. So this is just a piece of the puzzle. This is not my only source. It's not like, hey, he looked at this and said, yep, in the future, the stock's gonna be at $94. No, I'm not saying that, but you need to look at what is Qualcomm doing right now. Now, as you can tell, I didn't have Qualcomm on my list of, explanations and more information about them. But Qualcomm is a chip maker for 5G. Quality, they already have their Qualcomm is supplying things for Samsung as well. And Samsung is big. So they have chips in there for 5G. one thing you have to understand, and most people won't, I'm just going to throw it out there, is there are 5G chips that are available. There are some that are active, and there are some that are inactive. But they're in these phones. So you could be using a 5G phone enabled or capable, but actually on a 4G LTE network. So that's just food for thought. The Qualcomm is a quality company right here in the US, and they do produce chips and infrastructure, different types of equipment for and supporting 5G and next level, next generation of communication. You have Cisco, which I talked about earlier. Cisco was trading at about $35 when I got it. Now it's at 38 and climbing. Guild, this is the one for the health biopharmaceutical research. They actually have a drug that is helping the COVID-19 people right now. It is an experimental drug because it worked on other coronaviruses like MERS and SARS, but they didn't know if it would work on the COVID-19, but they've seen some good results from it. So within the next 12 months, if I got it today for 73, then if it goes up to 90 or if it hits 77, I'm happy with that. Work, which is Slack. So Slack being the platform for the enterprise communication tool, that is the work ticker symbol. But Slack is the comparable to Microsoft Teams, similar to WebEx or even Zoom. All of them have something a little different, but this is the one about Slack. So I looked at this and said the Slack is doing about $26 to $28 right now. So they've already passed their target, and they've done that over and over and over. And so there's a buy on Slack by pretty much all of the analysts. So Slack is, but it's a quality company. It's doing great things, and I think that should be in your portfolio as well as Zoom. And so that's my spiel about the stocks. And you may ask the question, since at the beginning I talked about I'm heavy into Forex. I love Forex. I make money every week off Forex, and I've been doing that for maybe a year and a half or so. So Forex is a great place to be. I've upgraded numerous times in the program that I'm in, and it's all passive, automated trading. And it's just growing. It's just growing. That's all I can really say about that. So Forex is the way to go if you want to be more active in your particular skill. But if you want to make money and learn this skill without really losing a lot, then get in touch with me and we'll talk a little bit about this. But stocks right now, don't miss the boat. So at the end of the day, let's close this out. And if I'm going to close it out, I might as well close it out with one of the most famous and richest stock investors that we know. Whether we're talking about stocks or stocks, I like buying quality merchandise when it's marked down. You have to get your head around that. Here's this whole conversation I had with you. This whole time together was about the market is dipping. It's in a bear market. You have to do the research. You have to pay attention. You have to get yourself in position to grab a hold to some of these companies. Get your piece of ownership. And when they start to go back the other direction, when the market corrects and it starts to increase, when it starts to make it bull, you want to be the one riding the bull. Don't get left out. The time is now. This is where millionaires and billionaires are made. I'm not saying I'm a financial advisor. I'm not saying I'm your financial advisor. I do financial management and financial fitness coaching. I do financial management courses. I do Forex conversations and training. But at the end of the day, I'm not a financial advisor that is school taught. I did not go to school to get a certificate to say that I'm qualified to give you any type of information. But what I am telling you is I have experience and I have profits made from these particular things that I have discussed with you today. This is what I can do. This is what I'm doing. And I would love for you to get on board. Get on board. Don't miss out. There's some great platforms out there that you can get started with. If you need any information from me, if you need any assistance from me, I'm happy to help you out. But like I said, at the end of the day, take it from Warren Buffett, whether we're talking about stocks or stocks, like buying quality merchandise. Smart thing. Buy low, sell high, but understand what you're buying. Obstacles just pop up in front of you just to test and see how bad you want to achieve your goal. One of my favorite authors, Robert Sharma. That's all I got for you. Be well. Get in touch with me. If you want more information, I'm happy to help. I can do whatever I can for you. I can tell you exactly what I did. I'll show you what I did. I'm happy to team up with anybody that's willing to take the time to put together a good program so that we can offer this information to our community across the board. People need this information, and I am willing to get out there and help you understand what you need to do to get in a position to win in this fourth industrial revolution. And I will explain more about that through my series of articles and my research, which is determined under the title of the fifth visual reaction. This is workonomics. This is the future of work. This is the future of your money. And I implore you to get on board, because when that bull starts to run, you want to be part of that run. I want you to hear it. And it's been a pleasure having this conversation with you. The one thing that I want to talk about right now is what's next. What's next for you? Are you going to be the person that says, it's all about 5G. 5G is not for criminals. I don't want nothing to do with it. Not a problem. It's not all about 5G. It's about technology. It's about technology that's already started, that we're deep in the middle of. And to be honest, it's going to happen with or without you. So we might as well get a little piece of the pie that's presented to us, right? And technology is one piece of that. Health, biopharmaceuticals is another big piece of that. We know how the healthcare system works. Another big area is some of the actual online platforms that are seeing tremendous growth in this short period of time. But it's not about now. It's about what's going to happen 6 months, year, and plus. If you think that remote working, if you think that telework is coming and going, you are in for a rude awakening. This is the new norm. I've been with the government for over 20 years. I've been to more conferences, I've been to more courses and leadership trainings where they talked about different agencies were able to decide if they wanted to allow their people to telework. DOD as a whole, the federal government is saying, hey, telework is okay, no problem. But it's up to these agencies out there to determine if they want to do it. But guess what just happened? They didn't even have a choice. They didn't have a choice. So if they were resistant to trusting their people to be productive away from the office, all that's changed. Now they see that you give them work, you monitor the work, You present the performance report, you give them the feedback, and you give them work, and you keep it moving. We're adults. People are putting in work at home. They're putting in work in the office. They're putting in work no matter where they are. And so now that you see that production is legit, then your organization is about to start instituting that on a regular, because it is something that is moving the needle. Quality of life. You know, when I do the future of work seminars, when I talk about what's next, when I talk about the evolution of work, or what I call workonomics and this fifth digital reaction, then front and center is remote work, gig economy. The millennials and the Generation Z, the Gen 2020, which we're in now. So we're talking about the next generation. They're looking at it from the perspective of, do I even want to work for a company that has no telework? Their first question, or when they're doing their research based upon the studies I've seen, is there a flexible work schedule or work arrangement? That's the first thing, not how much I'm going to make, not if I'm going to get lunch, not if I'm going to get breaks, not if there's a union. They want to know if I can work from home, if I can work from where I want to work from and produce. All I need to give you is results. That's what's happening. So if you understand how that works, then you know that this is not something that just happened right now. This is starting. It's been bubbling for a while. And yes, 5G is going to play a critical role in making sure that the low latency, the non-buffering, the more capacity, because more people are going to be using these platforms, is available throughout the grid. So you can do business with somebody in another country and not have the buffering, not have the shifting, and you can have the freedom of connection that you would have if you were sitting there right next to them. So there's going to be so much money saved for seminars and sending people to conferences and sending people to these long distance trainings. I mean, you have to understand why investing in an online platform. You're going to see so many more platforms pop up. You got your Teachable, you got your Thinkific, you got your Morella, you got your Udemy, you got Kajabi, you got all of these that are already in place for collegiate or scholastic type setups. You got your Blackboard. I mean, these are already set up. So they're already doing that, right? But then you have these very easy and simple platforms like WebEx and Zoom, Microsoft Teams, which have beefed up theirs in the last month. And you have your Slack and Workplace. And you have these set up to where it's quick deployment. Anybody can use it, and they're continually building in the background. So if you think this is a one-time deal, you're surely mistaken, and you will miss the boat. And I'm not going to be mad at you, because what you do is what you do. This is just information, because I'm not your advisor. I'm Rashid Hill, and I am the founder of L3 Coaching Solutions. And right now, it's L3 Coaching Solutions and Strategies, where my whole concept of leverage, lifestyle, and limitlessness is key to making everything flow. Yes, so catch me on every Friday or Saturday. I would say Saturday mornings, because I record it and then I post it up. My online broadcast, The Triple Effect, where we do say and feel, creates an environment, an energy, frequency, and a vibration that brings us into balance or knocks everything out of balance. So our whole idea, our whole being should be about the law of balance and polarity, and bringing everybody into balance so that we can better serve each other in our daily lives and throughout our comings and goings. This has been a great broadcast. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate anybody that stuck with me for this time frame. Until next time, I implore you to get involved. And if you need any help, if you need any information, definitely get in touch with me. That's what I'm doing. Please have a nice day, and I'm out.